Hey everybody, it's Andy. Welcome to my weekly show where I help you build a career you love. Great to have everybody. I've got a great session for you today. I am very pumped about this one. We're going to talk about how do you stay positive in your job search and how do you work on the right activities so that you do get hired. So we got a lot to cover, and for a long time I've been wanting to do this one this way, because job searching is super tough. And I want to talk today about why it is that people get frustrated, how you can almost immediately change your perspective by simultaneously either altering the activities that you're doing or at least the way that you look at those activities. And I can't wait to share Stephanie's story. Stephanie was struggling for months. She was somebody who joined my job search boot camp. We had a coaching session, and the formula I gave her, she used this same formula to surface her job within 2 days. 2 days, she altered her approach, and within 2 days surfaced the job that she ultimately took. So I can't wait to share that story with you. And speaking of two, there are two things I want to get out of the way right away, and two things that I want to talk about that I want to keep in the way for the rest of this discussion. The two things that I want to get out quickly is, because we're talking about positivity and happiness and things related to your outlook and your attitude, the first thing that I want to say, and I think a lot of you would probably agree with me on this, and some of you might not, but in my opinion, happiness is a choice. Positivity and a positive attitude is a choice. It's not something external. It's not something that happens to you. It's not something conditional. It's something that you choose to be. But I am hugely empathetic because I know how difficult job searching is. I mean, job searching is ridiculously difficult to do it well and to do it the right way. And I want you to think about this, not to make you feel worse before we make you feel better, but think about this. You don't job search very often. You're not sure what the best practices are. You've been given megatons of bad advice from well-intentioned and well-meaning friends and family members and others. And the fact that you are like well-adjusted normal humans make assumptions about what's etiquette or appropriate or not appropriate to do, behavior you should have in the job searching process, which many times is incorrect. So you have got a highly stacked deck against you. Okay, those are the two things I want to get out of the way. But the two things that I want to keep in the way, that I want to make a central theme for today's discussion is, and regardless of whether this is job searching or anything in your life, there's two things that generally get people unhappy. I mean, there's a lot of things that can get you unhappy, but there's generally two. And I want you to keep these in the forefront of your mind as we go through this discussion today, because you need to be aware of it so that you know it's happening to you and you know it's doing it and you know you're doing it. The first thing is whenever somebody has lack of control or lack of choice, or they feel like their options are limited, they tend to get frustrated. So whenever you feel like you're backed into a corner, or there aren't really any opportunities, or there aren't really any choices, or you're not in control of the situation, people get nervous, people get upset. The other thing is, oftentimes, how you look at your situation and what you use to measure your progress and your success could be faulty. So the other thing that tends to get people unhappy is they're using the wrong metrics. They're using the wrong metrics to know whether they're making progress or how close they are, how successful they are. So we're going to talk about these things I want to talk about the control issue first. And think about this. Just think about yourself for a second. And think about, as you've gone through your job search, whether you've ever said this to yourself. And I'm going to give you there's a lot of these, but I'm going to give you my top 5 or so. Here's what I get a lot from people, and I'm guessing you're going through this too. Online, this is a limitation. So what's out there and available to me is what I can find online. The opportunities that organizations publish, what's available that I can see, I'm limited based on that. Or how about this one? Get this one a ton. My location. Andy, I live in a city where there's only government jobs. There's only oil and gas jobs. There's only insurance jobs, automotive jobs, you name it. Or I live in a rural area. There's just not a lot of jobs. Okay, so we get this one a lot. Makes you feel limited. How about this one? You ever think about this? Well, my degree is in this, so I need to stay in this. Or I've been in this career for a few years, or 10, or 30, or whatever. So I really need to stay in it, even though I don't want to, because I need to be able to get a job. You start thinking in those limits. How about this one? My network is limited. I don't know a lot of people. I haven't really kept it up. Or the network that I do have, they're not getting back to me. Or when they get back to me, they don't really know of any opportunities. Limits, limits, limits. Here's another one. The ATS hates me. I can't get past it. I can't get to the recruiters, or I can't get past the recruiters, or recruiters don't like my resume, or whatever it might be. These kinds of things generally create this lack of control, these limits that we place on ourselves. We don't give ourselves as many choices that are truly out there. So here comes Stephanie. I want to bring Stephanie in. We're going to kind of weave her little case study throughout the rest of this lesson. She was somebody who was struggling for months. She thought a lot of these things, okay? She was putting her resume in the applicant tracking system. She's a sales executive, lives in the mountain area of the United States, so kind of the West Coast. And where she was, there wasn't a ton of opportunities, and she'd been struggling. She joined my job search boot camp, started going through some of the lessons, and reached out to me, and she says, these are great. I think I want a coaching call. I think that would really help push me over the top. So no problem. We got together. First thing I asked her was, okay, I'd like to understand the history. Where you been? What have you been doing? Just kind of walk me through it. And then let me know what adjustments you've started to make as a result of some of the videos you've been watching in the Job Search Bootcamp, or some of the lessons that you attended. So she told me that. A lot of ATS submissions and those kind of things. All right, that's done. Just put that on pause. Here's exactly what I want you to do. And obviously, she was very frustrated. She'd been doing this for a number of several weeks, months, in fact. And so I said, all right, here, let's just break it down so it's very easy for you to manage. Let's make the activities very bite-sized, but very powerful. So first thing that I want you to do is I want you to take a look at your target company list. She'd already started building one of these. If you're not sure what that is, I'm going to share more about how to do that a little later. But she had a list of companies that she was researching that she wanted to potentially join. So she had some of those. I said, take the top 10. Just take 10. Just take 10. This is Monday. Monday, she and I are speaking. Monday, midday. Just take 10 of them. Then I want to use whatever criteria you want. The type of company, where they're located, if they have an opportunity or not. Doesn't make any difference. Whatever your criteria is, use that. Pick your 10. Then what I want you to do a little research. See if you can locate one of three types of people. Either, and these are mostly mid-sized companies. I don't care if it's the C-levels, or the vice president of sales, somebody who he or she could potentially be your boss, or the HR person or recruiter, somebody that we can put a face on and a name with that you can send a direct email to. So that's the second thing. So find the companies, find the people. Third thing that we're going to do is we're going to tailor a message based on who it is. If it's a C-level, we're going to do this. If it's a potential boss, we're going to do that. If it's the HR person, we're going to do that. Scripted up her cover messages / emails or whatever we were going to send, and I want you to send those 10 out. And then let's check back at the end of the week, and let's see what happens. So she sent those out. Here's what happened. She calls me on Friday. She says, okay. I said, first thing I said out of my mouth, give me the stats. What happened? She said, well, 2 of them never got back to me. That's fine. 5 of them said thanks, but no thanks. So far, so good, right? We're batting about the percentages that I thought. She says 3 of them got back to me. I have 3 interviews, and 1 of those resulted in a job. So within less than 2 days, she was able to surface that. And that sounds like a great story, except I think there's more to it from a lesson standpoint. When you think about the interactions that occurred, 2, no responses. She can't do anything about that. But 5 bongs came back. That's 50% of her outreach came back and said no. Now, what most people would do is leave it at that and say thank you or not reply. But what did she do? She can control her response and her outreach, slings back to them and says, thank you for considering me. If anything changes, please let me know because I'd be happy to come visit for a discussion because I'm really interested in your organization. And as you can see, I'm in the middle of my job search. Is there anybody that you know that you think could use my services, whether that's an individual or a company, somebody that I might be able to reach out to? Of the 5, 2 got back to her and said, you should talk to this person. I know the vice president of sales over at that company, sort of in your area. You should reach out to him. I think he's looking for people. So think about it. She sends 10 messages. 50% responses were no, but of the 50%, she was able to get 2 responses to continue the dialogue because she reached out with some tactics. And would that take her 4 minutes? No, it took her 30 seconds because we'd already written the script because we knew people were going to get back to her and say thanks, but no thanks. So she literally copied boilerplate, didn't even have to change a word, and could send it to both of those people that reached back to her. So the point is, what you need to focus on, what can you control? You can control these 3 things: your content, so your resume, your cover letters, all those good things. You can control the output or the outflow of them, or the continuations, the follow-ups, or whatever you send your stuff anywhere you want. Nobody is stopping you. And the third thing that you can control is your response to it, how you react to it, but also what you do in reaction to it, because you don't know what's going to come back. But we knew that people weren't going to respond, and we knew that people were going to email her back and say thanks but no thanks. So that's networking. Just because she did, it's not like they were people that she had in her network previously, but that's networking. Networking is not limited to people you already know or people they know. You start developing relationships the minute somebody responds to you. So I want you to keep that in mind. So from a control standpoint, we focused on what she can control, focused on her outflow, and then rang everything we could out of that. Okay, so that's a key point that I want you to take away. But now let's talk a little bit about the metrics, because she was feeling miserable, and I know a lot of you are, because I get a lot of emails. And actually, somebody, Stu, just on the the chat said he applied to 400 places. What a lot of you are doing is you are considering your value, your worth, and your emotions are sinking because applicant tracking systems are not letting you through. The dumbest systems on earth, even when they're set up properly, that filter in maybe 2 to 3% of the applicants. You shouldn't be measuring yourself against that. You shouldn't be measuring yourself against how many recruiters are responding back to you. That has nothing to do with the value that you can contribute to this world. But I see how in a job search, a lot of us get lost in those numbers and we start to feel pretty badly. But here's what I'd rather you do, and here's what how I'd rather you look at it, because if you could do these 5 things or measure these 5 acts, you'll have a much better indication of the health of your job search and whether you're on the right track or not. Not to mention, you're going to get real live data, just like Stephanie did. She got reactions that she could work with. That's helpful. Accidents, serendipitous stuff happens when you are engaged. When you are shoving your resume into an applicant tracking system, there's not a lot that can happen other than, yes, we'll be happy to talk to you. So here's the 5 things that I want to make sure that you do/look at. The number of companies. Okay, so I don't care if you measure yourself by the hour, the day, or the week, but one metric that I would look at, or that I ask my one-on-one coaching clients, is how many companies did you identify to target? Here again, if you do not know how to build a target company list, I already created the video for you. I think we did it in a live office hours session. It's called How to Build a Target Company List for Your Job Search. It's in the description. I'll also, for the recording, I'll put it up in the card when this recording is all done. But that's the first metric that I would look at. How many companies are you surfacing? Because those are the number of at-bats you have. Second thing is, how many people within those organizations can you identify that you can send your message to? This is people that you are targeting that are within organizations that you would like to work for. So in Stephanie's case, we talked about, can you find the C-levels? Can you find the HR folks? Can you find the VP of sales? That would have been her hiring official. I don't care what you need to use. Use LinkedIn, use press releases. If it's a publicly traded company and you're senior enough, you look at the 10Ks and the 10Qs. They have people in them. You can figure out who to target. That's another great metric. The third thing is, but then we have to know what to do with those people. Are you building relationships? So I'm not talking about how many LinkedIn connections do you have. I'm talking about, have you done something to open up a relationship, whether that's you sent them an email that says, I'd love to connect with you. I don't care if you want to have coffee with them, if you want to send them your resume, if you're opening up some dialogue and you're trying to network, whatever it is, people that you would consider could ultimately lead you to your next job or lead you to somebody that can lead you to your next job and so forth. But keep track, are you building relationships? If you don't know how to do this, I've got a video for that too. It's called Business Networking, How to Build Professional Relationships. It's in the description. I'll put it in a card as well. That's the third thing that I would look at. And the fourth thing, now the rubber's really starting to meet the road. How many thoughtful emails and calls are you sending out each day, each week? Thoughtful. I had to squeeze that up in the note card because I'm not talking about blindly sending your resume or your email to a whole bunch of people that says undisclosed recipients or whatever. I'm talking about, I found a company, I found a person, or I'm truly trying to get to the person. A thoughtful email could be to an email to somebody to ask you to introduce yourself to somebody. That's thoughtful. But are you sending the right emails? And you've got all the ammunition you need for that. If you're not sure how to do this, to reach into people that you don't know. I mean, I know a lot of you like my 4-sentence cover letter, but when you are navigating through your job search at this level, I favor the video I created about how to apply when there's no job opening, and I created the no job opening cover letter for you. It is 7 sentences. It is my favorite piece of collateral related to cover letters out there. You can tailor it, but it is really sweet, and you can send that anywhere. Nobody is preventing you. You are in 100% control of sending that thing wherever you want, to any company that you want, wherever they are, whether they have an opening or not. So I've given you the script there as well. And then ultimately, we need to get you some interviews. So you're sending out thoughtful emails. Are you getting interviews in relation to the thoughtful emails you're sending out? I would rather you be tracking the percentage of interviews against the number of people that you are actually targeting. I'm not talking about submitting your resume into an applicant tracking system. You're going to bat 3% at best. So if you stick your resume into 100 different companies and you were actually qualified for the job, 3 of them might call you back. That's not a good ratio. So I would rather you look at the number of interviews that you are getting in relation to your thoughtful outreach. Those 5 metrics, the number of companies, the number of people, the number of relationships, the number of thoughtful emails, and the number of interviews are going to give you a much better indication of how you're doing in your search. Now, one other thing that I have for you that I'm glad and hugely smiling to bring back, if you want more of this, some of you might be familiar with my job search masterclass. I have brought back this little beauty too. So if you've not seen the job search masterclass, as of a few hours ago, I re-released it out of the Mile Walk Academy. It is a 3-part video series that takes you down on the 3 most important things you need to know about your job search. And inside that workbook are different job search work plans, how to allocate your time, the things you should be focusing on. They're kind of an extension of what we talked about here. So, and the other thing is, before we sign off, is if you've not grabbed Interview Intervention, when you get those interviews on the line, I'm still, at the time we're recording this or shooting this, I'm giving away Interview Intervention, the entire collection, free. It's the $29 book. It's the ebook and audiobook, which are $27, and I'm also throwing in a bonus ebook, How to Interview the Employer, 75 great questions to ask before you take any job. That's another $27, and all I ask is you pay $7 shipping and handling. Anywhere in the world, I'll ship you that hardcover book. So that's it for the lesson. If you are loving this, click the thumbs up button. Click the thumbs up button. If you're watching this anywhere other than the Tips for Working Life blog or my YouTube channel, hop over to those sites. And if you're watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week.